For hundreds of years, humanity has been taught one very simple idea. After death, the soul goes to only one place, either heaven or hell, as if this infinite universe had only two doors, as if the entire complex human life, love, mistakes, awakening, and downfall could all be compressed and forced into a single destination. But imagine this, instead. You step into a vast train station after leaving the body behind. There are no signs, no angels, no demons standing in judgment. Only hundreds of railway tracks, each vibrating at a different frequency. And the strange thing is this: you don't choose the train. Your vibration pulls you onto one. Edgar Cayce, often called the Sleeping Prophet, revealed this through more than 14,000 psychic readings. He did not speak of reward or punishment. He did not speak of religion. He spoke of the law of resonance. Two people die on the same day. One spent their entire life accumulating money and power, willing to step on others to rise. The other lived quietly, helped where they could, learned how to love, and gradually opened their awareness. They cannot travel the same path not because one is better than the other, but because they no longer resonate on the same frequency of the universe. Like a radio, you cannot receive a symphony if you are broadcasting static. At this moment, something enormous begins to collapse. In the collective human understanding, there is no single heaven for everyone. There is no hand judging you. There is only the degree to which you have become who you are. And from that moment on, the story is no longer about death. It becomes a story about how you are living. There is no scale placed before the universe, no ledger of sins and merits, no voice from above calling your name to pass judgment. There is only one silent law governing every destination of the soul, the law of vibration. Imagine your consciousness as a wave. Every thought is a pulse of movement. Every emotion is an acceleration. Every choice is a tuning of frequency. You do not go to a realm. You are drawn to where your vibration matches. Like a radio late at night, you turn the dial searching for a station, but in truth, you are not choosing the music. The music appears because you are broadcasting its frequency. Edgar Cayce called this the energetic signature of the soul, a resonance code formed from countless tiny moments in daily life. How you react when you are insulted, how you treat those who are weaker, how you think about people more successful than you, how you behave when you are alone and no one is watching. No grand actions are required, no rituals, no vows, just repetition over time, and that signature becomes as clear as a fingerprint. And eventually, your soul has no other option but to return to the place it has trained itself to belong. This realization shocks many people because it removes every familiar excuse. Not where you were born, not which religion you follow, not who hurt you. The law of vibration does not care about your story. It responds only to the state you maintain. Two people perform the same good deed. One does it seeking recognition, the other does it in silence. Outwardly identical, but inwardly they emit two different frequencies, and the universe always listens to the inside. Cayce used a powerful image to describe this. The soul is like a magnet being charged. Every selfish thought wraps it in a layer of lead. Every moment of love wipes a layer away. You are not pushed down into a lower realm. You become heavy. You are not lifted into a higher realm. You become light. This truth is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because there is no one left to blame. Liberating because no one holds power over your fate except you. And here is the critical point that very few people realize. The law of vibration does not wait for death to begin. Right now, as you are listening to this story, as a hint of curiosity arises within you, a subtle opening, a moment of stillness, your frequency is already shifting. Every time you choose understanding instead of judgment, every time you pause before anger, every time you love without being asked, you step off an old track and begin preparing to enter realms you could never reach before. But to truly understand how brutally precise this law is and why some souls remain trapped for hundreds of years, we must go all the way down to the lowest place, the densest place, the place many people touch every day without realizing it. If you are ready, let me guide you to the first realm, the prison without walls. The first realm, the prison without walls. Imagine something deeply paradoxical. You die, but you do not leave. There is no welcoming light, no door opening, no guide appeared, only a terrifying sense of familiarity. You are still here among places that once belonged to you in life, but now you no longer have a body. Edgar Cayce called this the densest realm of existence. It is not hell as humans imagine it. There is no fire, no demons, only attachments that refuse to loosen their grip. The first realm is not a punishment, it is a consequence, like an addict waking up in a room full of bottles, but with no mouth to drink, no hands to hold. Nobody satisfies the craving. The desire remains intact, but the tools are gone. The souls in this realm remain haunted by exactly what controlled them in life: money, power, lust, control, fear. Some wander around houses they once owned, standing before safes they once locked, repeating a single thought over and over. It was all mine, but now nothing obeys them anymore. Others are trapped in the hunger of addiction. They feel the absence of alcohol, drugs, lust clearly and painfully, but cannot reach them. The craving is no longer physical. It becomes a mental hell, a withdrawal with no end. And what makes this realm truly terrifying is not pain, but time. There is no sentence written. 10 years, 100 years. No bell announcing release. A soul leaves this realm only when it changes its own vibration. Some remain for years, some for centuries. Cayce even described souls trapped for thousands of years because they refuse to release a single idea: power, identity, the ego that once ruled their lives. And here is the truth that silences many who are still alive. You do not need to die to touch the first realm. Every time you live only to accumulate, never knowing enough. Every time you manipulate others to feel valuable. Every time you sink into addiction, hatred, jealousy without any desire to stop. You are weaving invisible threads binding yourself to this realm. Like standing in a sealed room and slowly taping layers of paper over the windows. The light does not disappear immediately, but one day you return and realize you have locked yourself inside the darkness. Cayce said that souls in the first realm often try to cling to the living, not to harm them, but to feel alive again. They whisper into vulnerable minds, "Just one more time. It's okay. You deserve it." And if you have ever wondered why some self-destructive behaviors continue even when people know they are wrong, this is part of the answer. But the first realm does not exist to spread despair. It exists as a ruthless yet honest mirror. It says, "No one locked you here. No God condemned you. There is only the attachment you are not yet ready to release." And the miracle is this: all it takes is one true moment of awakening, a single realization. I no longer want to live this way. The vibration begins to shift, lighter, just a little, then lighter still, and suddenly, doors you never saw before begin to appear. But to step through them, the soul must do something extraordinarily difficult: to look directly at one's own emotions, anger, resentment, blame. And that is the moment the journey shifts into another space, no longer a prison, but a hall of mirrors, a place where every emotion is reflected, where there is nowhere to run, where the soul begins to learn its very first lesson of freedom. In the next part, we enter the second realm, where the soul confronts every emotion it once used as self-defense. The second realm, the chamber of emotional mirrors. If the first realm is a prison without walls, the second realm is a room filled with mirrors. No bars, no chains, and no place to turn away. When the soul enters this realm, the first thing it feels is not fear, but recognition. the recognition that it once knew something was wrong and chose to ignore it. In the second realm, the soul is no longer obsessed with money or desire as before, but it is held in place by unresolved emotions: anger, jealousy, resentment, the feeling of betrayal, the identity of the victim. Edgar Cayce described this realm as a space where every emotional moment of a lifetime is replayed, not to punish, but to be fully seen. Imagine standing before a massive screen. On it are not other people's memories, but your own moments of anger. The times you spoke words that wounded someone, the moments you turned away in silence, the times you blamed circumstances instead of taking responsibility. But this time, you are not watching only from your own perspective. Music. You feel the emotions of the other person, the sadness they swallowed, the fear they hid, the wound you unknowingly touched. There are no excuses here. No, because they did it first. The second realm teaches the soul a lesson that is simple and extremely difficult. Your emotions are your choice. No one places anger in your heart. No one forces you to carry resentment for years. Life may present circumstances, music, but your response is always the part you hold. This moment is often deeply painful. Many souls experience a kind of pain they have never felt before. Not the pain of loss, but the pain of seeing the truth about themselves. Like someone who has worn armor their entire life, only to remove it and realize they are exhausted. Music, from holding it up for so long. Yet it is precisely within this pain that a door begins to open. Because when the soul realizes, I chose to react this way, it also realizes, I can choose differently. At first, guilt feels crushing, but if the soul does not run, if it does not condemn itself, if it stays long enough in honesty, guilt begins to dissolve, and responsibility transforms into strength. The second realm does not hold the soul through fear. It holds it through opportunity. The opportunity to learn how to observe emotions without being dragged by them. The opportunity to see that you are not your anger, not your resentment, not the victim role. Only someone who learned to use these emotions as protection. And this is what many people on Earth are experiencing right now, without having a name for it. Every time you repeat the same emotional pattern, every time you react faster than thought, every time you say, I know this isn't good, but I can't stop, you are touching the second realm while still alive. The good news is you do not need to die to learn this lesson. All it takes is one pause, one deep breath, one moment of honesty with yourself. Where is this emotion coming from? What am I protecting? What am I afraid of losing? Each question removes one mirror, and when the room no longer reflects so densely, the soul begins to see the path ahead. A new path where compassion begins to appear, but also where a subtle trap awaits. The trap of light. The trap of, I understand now. In the next part, we enter the third realm, where the soul begins to seek growth and must confront its most subtle ego. The third realm, the seeker and the trap of light. After leaving the mirrored chamber of emotion, the soul steps out, feeling different, lighter, clearer. For the first time, there is direction. The third realm is no longer heavy, no longer blindly attached. Here, the soul knows it is evolving. It seeks knowledge. It learns how to love. It begins to care about the pain of others, not from fear of karma, but from a genuine vibration in the heart, like someone who has just escaped a dense jungle and sees light in the distance. The soul in this realm walks forward with new hope, but light can also blind. The trap of the third realm is not darkness, but unrefined light. Edgar Cayce described this as the stage where the soul begins to identify itself with growth. I understand now. I'm awake. I'm different from those who are still asleep. These thoughts are subtle. They are not crude like greed or rage. They are dressed in morality, in spirituality, in understanding. Like someone climbing a mountain who hasn't reached the summit, yet turns back to look at those still at the base, with a feeling that is hard to name. Not contempt, but separation. In the third realm, the soul does many good things, but deep inside, it may still want to be seen, to be acknowledged, to feel that its difference matters. It helps others, but if gratitude doesn't come, a faint disappointment appears. It speaks of love, yet quietly judges those who don't understand yet. No one is wrong here. The third realm is genuine learning, like a child who has just learned to read and feels proud of their knowledge, until realizing that knowledge is not meant to stand above others, but to lead deeper into humility. What is special about this realm is that the soul begins to receive small assignments of compassion, not through teaching, not through preaching, but through presence. The soul is placed near others who are still stuck in lower realms, not to pull them up, but to illuminate. Like a candle in a dark room, it does not need to convince the darkness to leave. It only needs to burn. Many souls in the third realm choose to return to Earth in new lifetimes, not because they are not good enough, but because they must learn the hardest lesson: to love without feeling that I am loving. This lesson is extremely subtle. It does not appear as great suffering, but as small frictions, a criticism, a misunderstanding, a moment of rejection. If the soul contracts, the trap of light closes. If the soul opens, the light becomes transparent. And when light no longer carries the shadow of ego, a new state appears. No effort to be good, no striving to be right, only a calm so deep that others feel safe in its presence. This is the sign that the soul is ready to cross a very important threshold, the threshold of balance. In the next part, we enter the fourth realm, where the soul no longer heals through action, but through presence itself. The fourth realm, the healer through presence. There is a very special moment in the soul's journey. No noise, no celebration, yet it is so deep that everything inside suddenly settles. The fourth realm does not open through effort. It appears when the soul stops trying to become something. After passing through the trap of light in the third realm, the soul no longer needs to prove understanding, no longer feels compelled to teach, no longer feels the urge to fix the world. Like someone who has traveled very far, finally sitting down by the roadside, and, for the first time, exhaling deeply. Edgar Cayce described this realm as a perfect balance between wisdom and compassion, not leaning into emotion, not tilting toward reason. Here, the soul is no longer drawn into drama. Things that once triggered strong reactions now pass like clouds, not because of indifference, but because their true nature is clearly seen. Imagine a still lake. The wind blows, the rain falls, but the surface does not ripple. The soul in the fourth realm lives the same way. They still live in the world. They still face hardship. They still encounter loss. But inside, there is no longer a battle. Forgiveness here is not a moral decision. It is the natural result of deep understanding. When you see that everyone acts from their level of awareness, there is no reason left to hold resentment. Anger now feels like holding hot coals and waiting for someone else to be burned. Strangely, they no longer try to heal, yet everything around them softens. People feel safe near them. Emotional chaos naturally settles. Difficult conversations become easier to breathe through. Like entering a quiet room, you lower your voice without being asked. Their presence is an invitation. In the fourth realm, the soul learns a profound lesson. Not everything needs to be fixed. Some things only need to be understood and allowed to pass. They do not escape reality, but they do not fight it either. They act when needed. They remain silent when appropriate. They accept when there is nothing left to do. This state alone makes them natural healers, not through advice, not through technique, but through inner stability. Many souls in this realm are sought out during others' darkest moments, not because they have answers, but because near them, people remember what it feels like to be themselves. And then something very beautiful begins to happen. When the soul lives long enough, In this balanced state, joy no longer comes from helping someone. It comes from life itself flowing through them. Love is no longer an action. It becomes essence. And when love becomes as natural as breathing, another door begins to open. Not the door of higher intellect, but the door of unconditional service. No one asks. No one gives a title. Only a gentle impulse. I am not here only for myself. In the next part, we enter the fifth realm, where the soul no longer lives for itself, but becomes a stream of love that nourishes the whole. The fifth realm, the anonymous servant. There is a threshold where, once the soul crosses it, something very strange happens. The question, what do I get? The fifth realm does not arrive through discipline. It opens when the soul no longer revolves around itself. After the balance of the fourth realm, love has become instinct. And when love no longer needs a reason, service arises naturally, like the sun rising each morning, not because anyone deserves it. It asks for no recognition. It simply shines. Edgar Cayce described souls in this realm as living currents of unconditional love. They do not perceive themselves as helping others because in their awareness, there is no boundary between self and others. In the fifth realm, there is no inner drama, no personal conflict, no need to protect identity. The only thing that remains is immediate responsiveness to the needs of life. Where there is suffering, they appear. Where there is chaos, they bring coherence, not through power, not through force, but through deep harmony with the laws of the universe. Imagine a musician fully integrated into an orchestra, not trying to play louder than others, not competing for a solo, yet every note they play makes the entire piece complete. The soul in the fifth realm is the same. They do not practice manifestation, yet reality responds to them. When they need something to serve more effectively, it appears not as a miracle, but because their will is no longer personal will. It is universal intelligence, moving through a transparent channel. One extraordinary aspect of this realm is that the soul can operate simultaneously across multiple levels of existence. They can be present in different realms, different contexts, without fragmentation, like someone who can play the piano, hold a conversation, and sense the room at the same time. Effortlessly, many souls in the fifth realm choose to incarnate on Earth during pivotal periods of humanity, not to be teachers, not to be worshipped, but to plant a new seed of awareness. They appear quietly. They are sometimes misunderstood. Sometimes I resisted. Yet their presence shifts the entire collective field. You may have met someone like this. They say little. They prove nothing. Yet after meeting them, you feel an unexplainable desire to live more kindly. That is the fifth realm, touching physical life. Here, joy does not come from achievement. It comes from complete alignment with the flow of life. Happiness is no longer sought because happiness has become the ground of existence. And when the soul dissolves completely into service, when love no longer has a giver or receiver, another door opens. Not the door of action, but the door of pure cosmic intelligence, where knowing and being become one. In the next part, we enter the sixth realm, where the soul no longer learns wisdom. It is the wisdom that shapes reality. The sixth realm, wisdom beyond language. There is a boundary that, once the soul reaches it, language begins to fail. Not because there is nothing left to say, but because everything that could be said is already known, before words arise. The sixth realm is not a place of learning. Here, the soul remembers, like someone entering an infinite library and realizing every book has always lived within them. Edgar Cayce described souls in this realm as consciousness unified with universal intelligence. They do not receive knowledge from outside. Knowledge flows from within them, as breath flows from the lungs. In the sixth realm, there is no question of what is right, because the essence of all things is seen simultaneously. Cause and effect, beginning and end, light and shadow, all exist at once, like hearing an entire symphony in full, not note by note. Imagine a person standing on the highest mountain peak. The river below is no longer this bend or that bend. It is the entire journey, from the spring at the river's source to the place where it merges with the ocean. The soul in the sixth realm perceives reality this way. They see clearly why a civilization rises, why an era collapses, why a soul must pass through suffering before touching love. And because they see so clearly, they no longer judge. A defining quality of this realm is that the soul can participate in shaping the structure of reality itself, not through power, music, not through forceful intervention, but through subtle adjustments of the laws that govern existence. Cayce described them as architects of life. They take part in forming ecosystems, fields of consciousness, and even the principles humans would later call physics. Yet what makes the sixth realm most profound is not power, but responsibility, music. Because when you see all connections clearly, you can no longer act for personal gain without feeling the ripple of consequences. In this realm, individuality still exists, but it has expanded enough to include everything once considered not self, like someone who loves the ocean so deeply that when a single wave breaks, their heart trembles with it. Many souls of the sixth realm choose not to appear directly in human history. They work in silence, adjusting deep currents that few ever notice. Occasionally, they leave traces through awakened souls, a visionary, a breakthrough scientist, someone carrying knowledge centuries ahead of their time. You can recognize the breath of the sixth realm in rare moments, when a profound truth suddenly reveals itself within you, without thought. When you know something, before you have any reason to believe it, that is your consciousness, lightly touching the realm of wisdom beyond language. Yet no matter how vast the sixth realm is, it is still not the final point. There remains a deeper dissolution. No knower, no known, only the source of all knowing. Music. In the next part, we enter the seventh realm, where the soul is no longer an observer of the universe, but becomes the very essence of creation itself. The seventh realm. Dissolving into the source, there is a point where every journey no longer continues in the old sense, not because there is no path, but because there is no one left to walk it. The seventh realm is not a destination. It is the dissolution of the very idea of destination. When the soul touches this realm, the question, "Who am I?" no longer exists, because the question itself disappears, like a drop of water falling into the ocean and realizing it was never separate. There is no boundary between observer and observed, no center and no periphery, no beginning and no end. Everything is a single movement of consciousness. In the seventh realm, the soul does not unite with God, because separation never existed. There is only complete remembering. Souls in this realm no longer have individuality, as humans understand it, yet they do not lose their essence. They are like cells within a vast living organism. Each cell has its function, but all move to the same heartbeat. Cayce described them as shepherds of the universe, not rulers, but keepers of harmony. They can manifest simultaneously across multiple dimensions while remaining perfectly connected to the source, like light passing through a prism, splitting into countless colors, yet remaining light in essence. What makes the seventh realm hardest to describe is not power, but absolute love. Not love for someone, not emotion, but the very substance of existence itself. Here, the concept of sacrifice disappears, because there is no one to sacrifice for another. Every action is simply the source, expressing itself, wanting to experience itself. Very few souls reach this realm. While still connected to Earth's evolutionary cycle, they appear extremely rarely, usually during major transitions of humanity. Music. You hear of individuals whose mere presence reshaped an era, not because they said something new, but because they were what they spoke. They did not call for love. They were love. But this is the most misunderstood point. The seventh realm is not a goal to chase. No one is promoted there through effort or desire. It happens when there is no longer anyone who wants to achieve anything. And precisely because of that, the seventh realm is not separate from earthly life, as people often believe, because every moment you love without expecting return, every time you release ego without needing recognition, every time you choose truth over the image of yourself, you are touching the same essence that the seventh realm represents. Not fully, not permanently, but enough to remember. And once you remember, you cannot return to living as before, because the question now is no longer, where will I go after death? But, while alive, from what level of consciousness will I choose to be present? The answer to that question is the doorway of the final chapter, where the soul returns to earth, not as a seeker, music, but as a bearer of purpose. In the next part, we return, not to fall asleep again, but to live consciously, the role the soul has chosen, returning to earth, living as a soul that remembers. After passing through all realms, the story does not end in light. It returns here, to the body, to the breath, to ordinary days, because the purpose of the soul's journey is not to leave this world, but to be present within it in a different way. Before every incarnation, the soul enters a moment of deep stillness. There is no coercion, no judgment, only one question: what can I contribute to the evolution of the whole? The answer is not a career, not a title. It is a quality of being. Some souls choose to bring gentleness into a violent world. Some carry wisdom to illuminate blind spots. Some choose to become anchors of peace. Amid fractured relationships, you do not need to do anything grand. The universe does not need more heroes. It needs souls, living in alignment with their true nature. A soul's mission usually whispers softly. It appears as an unexplainable passion, a deep ache when witnessing suffering, a sense of belonging when doing something natural, like a seed that does not need to be taught how to sprout, only given enough light and space. Yet many people live entire lifetimes without hearing that call, not because they lack a mission, but because the noise is too loud. The noise of expectations, comparison, the pressure to become someone, to be accepted. Living as a soul that remembers does not mean abandoning everything. It means adjusting direction. When you spend most of your time on things that drain you, your vibration drops. When you give time to what opens your heart, your vibration naturally rises. No rituals, no magic, only consistency. And when you begin living more aligned with what your soul has chosen, three strange things happen. First, you feel lighter inside, not because life becomes easier, but because you stop resisting it. Second, the right people and opportunities begin to appear, quietly, without drama, but precisely on time. Third, a deep feeling forms. I am where I need to be, not at the peak, not in heaven, but in rhythm. And this is the most important message of the entire story. You do not need to die to enter higher realms. Every time you choose honesty over performance, every time you choose love over defense, every time you pause before anger and listen to what is hurting inside, you are moving between realms. Within this very life, heaven is not far away. Hell is not beneath the ground. They are states of consciousness you cultivate every day. And when you understand that, life stops being random. It becomes a continuous opportunity to remember who you are and why you are here. If there is one message to carry after this story, let it be this: you are not searching for the light, you are learning not to cover it. And the moment you read these words, that journey has already begun. We have traveled a long path from the imaginary prison of attachment through the chamber of emotional mirrors, where the soul learns responsibility through the light of seeking and the subtle trap of ego, into healing balance, then into unconditional service, deep into wisdom beyond language, and finally dissolving into the essence of pure love. But the greatest meaning of this entire story is not in the 7 realms or the 10 parts. It lies in a simple truth. You do not wait for death to enter the realms. You are living in them every day. Every thought you nurture, every reaction you choose, every moment of love or defense, all of it is positioning your soul on its own map of evolution. If there is one thing to take from this video, it is not a new belief, but presence in daily life. You can begin simply observe your reactions instead of identifying with them. Choose understanding before judgment. Pause before anger. Cultivate moments of love that ask for nothing in return. Spend time with what feels, in rhythm with who you truly are. You do not need to become anyone else. You only need to stop hiding who you already are, because every step you take closer to that essence is a step where your soul raises its own vibration. If, while listening, a certain part touched you deeply, or you recognized yourself standing in one of these realms in your current life, leave a comment below, not to prove anything, but to be honest with yourself. And if you feel this space is for those who are awakening, healing, remembering who they are, follow the channel. We do not move fast. We do not move in crowds, but we move in the right direction. I'll see you on the next journeys, where light does not come from outside, but is remembered from within.